this will be your final time serving as mayor. And so talk to me a little bit about why you made that decision right now. It seemed like it was a little bit timely with the mayoral forum and everything. So talk to me about your decision and why you made it right now.
Well, today's the day that I would have filed to run and turn in my papers. But to me, this whole year has been about doing the work of our citizens. And, to me, the decision needed to be made at the appropriate time. And, at this filing time, I thought it important that we let everybody know. And it's been a tough decision, with my family. And, we've got a family business and we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. I've spent 20 years spending way more time at City Hall than trying to, run our family business. And, I'm the fourth generation in that, and we got to figure out, where's it going from here? And how do I now think about that future, having spent not only 20 years as mayor, but 2 years before that on the council, and then decade and a half serving on boards and commissions, planning and zoning and whatever. We did great work. I feel good. I mean, our whole family has always felt that, giving back to your city, where you live, where you work, is so important to make it better for everyone. And I brought that to City Hall, and I've been proud to serve, but 20 years is a long time to do it. And obviously, I could have done it for a number of years more, at least another term, but I don't think this is the appropriate next chapter. It's time for me to rethink what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I think that the transition here, the opportunity with new leadership, will set the direction for at least the next 4 years.
Absolutely. And reflecting back on the 20 years that you've held the office of mayor here in Des Moines, what sort of changes, I mean, of course, I know you've seen so many, but what are the greatest changes that you've seen to this city, specifically, that you've tried to implement and for the citizens here?
I think that the stuff that we have done that I am most proud of is working with our citizens in their neighborhoods, listening to their thoughts, their hopes, their dreams. What would you like to have happen? I mean, there's so many things that we've implemented as a result. As we look at our budget and, what can we do? How can we do it? Where can we do it? And to meet those needs, we have worked so hard on the parks, for instance. I mean, we've got 77 parks now. We've made a goal that every citizen be within a 10-minute walk of a park or a trail. And we're getting close to getting there. Now, of course, those 77 don't even include waterworks. A little 1,500-acre park that, is there for our citizens to enjoy with its amenities. But listening to those citizens talk about their needs, sometimes it's streets, sometimes it's sewer, sometimes it's public safety, sometimes it's a new firehouse. It's a better way to address this or that. And then we have to get with our experts, whether it's public works or it's parks department or it's police or it's fire or it's, our budget finance people or whatever. It's all of us coming together and thinking together, here's what we're hearing. How do we deliver it? And, the great strides we have made, I mentioned the parks, I mentioned, $500 million that we are now budgeting to improve our streets. And we've been working on it for a long time, but we are now not just going to top it off and make them look good for the next 3 to 5 years. We're fundamentally looking at structural improvement that hopefully will keep these streets in place for the next 20 to 50 years. And, let's stop the short-term fix. Let's look at a long-term solution and foundationally so we don't have to keep coming back and doing this. The citizens have told us what they want, what they need. We know it's going to be a long-term struggle to get it done. It's a $500 million that we're throwing at this, but we think it's necessary and it meets the needs of our citizens. But look at our downtown, how that's changed. Over the last 20 years. I mean, 20 years ago, it was pretty much an 8 to 5 downtown. And we very thoughtfully, what could happen in downtown Des Moines? And as a business owner in downtown, I worked with other downtown business people as we thought about, it's changing. This used to be the major retail center in addition to business center of the state of Iowa. But then somebody at sometime in the 50s, 60s invented shopping centers. And so the stores started leaving, including Yonkers and Utica. And I mean, there were over 200 stores just over here in downtown, plus what was in the East Village. And, that sort of went away. And it just became, a third largest insurance center in the world and banking center and, all the things that surround that, medical and whatever. But mostly that was 8 to 5 work, and then people would leave and go somewhere. We decided that, for instance, downtown, we needed to have an opportunity for people to live downtown. And at that time, between, 18th Street and the freeway and the Capitol and the river, we had about 1,700 people living in this larger core downtown area. And we thought, we got to do what we can do to increase that. And, we had buildings down over here, some of we can look at that, used to be warehouses and, business and whatever, that were turned into lofts. And, everybody thought we were crazy at first, but a couple of the developers said, all right, we'll try it. Well, they were renting and selling these faster than they could put them together. And all of a sudden they said, whoa, maybe we should build some new ones. And, we can look up the river over here, all the development that has happened up here in terms of residential housing. This all used to be business. 100 years ago, there were manufacturing plants down here, and a transition had to happen where they moved all that out, and all those coal burning whatever that smogged up this whole area, and look what we have now. I mean, we've got the municipal building, got a new federal courthouse, we got our old library that is now the World Food Prize, we got Polk County, we've got the old federal courthouse, our police station, the armory up here. They turned this into sort of a public area, and the main post office used to be over here. Now it's up the river a little bit, but nevertheless, that transition happened starting 100 years ago. Now here we are in 2023, where do we go? What happens? And 20 years ago, we thought people ought to start living down here. Well, you know what? There's different estimates on exactly how many are down here in that area we just described, but, from 1,500, 1,700 now to 13 to 17,000 are the estimates that we have. We know they're here, but what has happened? People are living here, they're working here. We've got great restaurants in downtown Des Moines, and downtown Des Moines is noticed by national media. They come in here and say, how did you do this? We remember what it was like. I mean, every 4 years they seem to come and do these caucuses, and so they get pictures, sort of snapshots of it, over periods of time. They said, I don't know how you did this, but this is the heart of the Midwest. There's nothing like it between Chicago and Denver. How did you do it? And of course, I laughingly will say, we've got a secret sauce, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but thank you for noticing it. But, we have been recognized nationally for best place to work, best place for young people to have a job and a career, best place to raise a family. So many awards, but it's all of us working together that made that happen. To see the vision, create it, move it forward, make it look there. So I am so proud of that work that we have done with our citizens, with our businesses, in the neighborhoods, in the downtown business center, to create a city that really is the there in the Midwest. And we should be proud of it. And we constantly get acknowledged for that kind of work.
Lots of great reflections there. But now, of course, looking ahead, right? The shoes that you have stepped into, for 20 years now, somebody else is going to have to fill. And so, you obviously just highlighted a lot of the great developments in Des Moines that you've seen. But what about some of the major issues that whoever steps into your role is now going to have to tackle? What are you seeing right now, and what have you sort of spoken to maybe the candidates, or what do you hear from residents about the biggest issues that they want to be seen right now?
Well, everybody continues to want to, let's fix all this infrastructure. We know that we've got a sort of a mandate from the federal government about sewer separation and all that sort of thing, and we're trying to coordinate that with the improvement of all those streets. And so we're trying to, make sure we're not fixing a street and then tearing it up and redoing it. And there's moments when I feel like that occasionally happens when somebody comes up with a new directive or mandate. But we have to continue to focus on those kinds of things, infrastructure and, public safety for all. And, I think that we have to look at the future of this city. Let's continue to make Des Moines a great place to live, a great place to work. But we need to coordinate a lot of our efforts, even with the Des Moines Public Schools. They are educating and preparing our young people to be that next generation, to be the workers, be the occupants, be the leaders at the local level, at the state level, and maybe some of them will have a dream at some moment to go to Congress or, do something else. But we want to produce leaders that see the vision, that see, what we've created, but want to move that forward. And I think that we need to, work very closely with all of our businesses and educators, whether it's at that, K through 12 level or higher education in Des Moines, being Drake University and DMAC and Grandview, and opportunities from Iowa State and University of Iowa to get higher education degrees. I mean, we need to focus on a lot of that kind of stuff, because that is so important for the future and the education of our young people. And quite frankly, for all of us, we all need lifelong learning. So I think that our future leaders need to focus on, making sure, they're listening to what our citizens' dreams are, what their concerns are, and how do we deliver on that. And as you know, in your job, every day presents a new challenge that we have to respond to. And sometimes that if we are moving along on infrastructure improvement, sometimes that kind of work gets put aside for a minute when a derecho comes through and we got 9,000 or 10,000 truckloads worth of debris to remove from our streets and our neighborhoods and our parks and everything else. And sometimes in partnership and working in a coordinated way, for instance, with Mid-American, to make sure everybody has power. And how do we get that, back up as quickly as possible? And sometimes that takes some of those budget dollars and planning dollars that we were going down this road to do, and now all of a sudden, whoop, here's something else that we've got to jump in on. So we have to be prepared. And we have to have all of our city works and our coordination with the private sector, because all of us working together is what's made this city so great. And even as we've dedicated, some parks this week, Whitmer Park, for instance, we had 2 neighborhood associations. We had Beaverdale and Drake working together to make that improvement in that park. And all the private sector donors and the business donors, along with the city and Polk County, again, it's all of us working together. We have to make sure that we continue to keep that relationship and those partnerships moving forward, and people exciting and excited about this city and what we can do to make it better. And I think those are some of the challenges that, we're going to face. And as you know, every day is a new chapter.
We, the citizens of Des Moines, heard from the 3 candidates who are currently running for mayor. Who knows if now with your announcement, if somebody, like you said, the filing deadline is today, who knows if somebody's going to jump in last minute. But is there anybody specifically that you're envisioning as your successor, anybody that you're endorsing?
Again, we all work better together as a team, and I think it'd be inappropriate for me to, especially with 2 of the people that are running that sit on the dais with me, to, be picking people at the moment and be divisive, through the end of the year when I, step down, in this time when there may be some big decisions that have to be made. We're a team. We need to work together. We need to figure out how to plan together and think together. And so I'm going to, wish them all the best. And I'm looking for, a strong leadership based upon going down some of the paths that you and I've discussed. But I'm gonna stay out of this.
And so from now until, the election, you'll just, continue, of course, to be in your role and continue supporting. What do you envision after you finish your time as mayor? Obviously, I'm sure spending some time with family, but do you think that you'll still keep, try to keep close relations, of course, with the residents of Des Moines and with the council and whatnot?
Yeah, and of course, I have had a lot of people ask me about, a lot of the international work that I do with the Mayors for Peace, and I'm the global vice president for that, president being the mayor of Hiroshima. And, we're trying to convince people that maybe we don't need tens of thousands of nuclear weapons, that future of this planet depends on all of us thinking together, working together, and taking those kinds of chips off the table are important. Climate change, I've been very involved in that, so I am, getting calls even today as some of my friends in that era saw that I am, not going to serve an elected office. Are you thinking about getting involved in some of that? They know I'm involved internationally as the global president of the advisory to the UN from local government. And so, what does that mean? We know you're going to be there through the COP and, into January, but, what are you going to do after that? So, I've got a whole lot of things people are asking me about on the table, including my family, about our relationships and our now 4th generation business. And, is there going to be a 5th generation? If so, what are we going to do? What's that look like, 20 years from now or 50 years from now? So I need to work on some of those things as well.
Last question I want to ask you, I think something that's been highlighted by former Councilwoman Indira Shoemaker's absence and now her resignation is some of the pressures that holding a public office, comes with. And so as a mayor, you served this position for 20 years. I'm sure you can speak to some of the pressures that come with holding a public office and being sort of that main person for the residents here. But, do you think is that something that you've had discussions with, the candidates about? Is that anything that, you think anybody should be concerned about? Because I think that is something that people wonder, is just the pressures that come with holding public office.
Well, and there is, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think that some people that run for public office, have 1 or 2 things in mind, and this is, what I'm running and why I'm running and whatever. And, for me, I learned a little bit about it before I stepped into it. I mean, I never envisioned or dreamed about serving in elected office. I worked hard, as a business person in Des Moines to improve our business opportunity, but to work with others to make, the downtown, make our whole city more exciting, more inviting. How do we do that? And then served on boards and commissions and saw how the city functions and works in so many different ways with so many different departments. So an awful lot of people, again, as they're running, they're running on 1 or 2 items or reasons to be running. and they discover that, you know, the expectations of those that they represent are way broader than those couple of things. I mean, you've seen some of our agendas. I mean, there are hundreds of issues and concerns that we need to deal with and understand. And I think sometimes that becomes really overwhelming to people that, you know, this is what I ran on, this is what I'm working on, and whatever. But, you know, there'll be those that'll say, but what about our streets? What about our schools? What about our street lights? What about the potholes? What about the sewer? You know, what about the fire police? And that we need a new station. We need, you know, hundreds of things get thrown at you. And sometimes, you know, those individuals are like, yeah. And so it's a huge stressor to all of a sudden discover that this job is much different and much bigger and broader than, you know, the passion that you ran on at the outset. Now, some of this stuff is very bland and boring, but you know what? It's stuff that needs to be addressed.